Good morning, everybody. Good juntive, everybody. It's Kislev. And we're going to go to the Chitas of the day. We're going to start off from the Chumash of the day. We're holding chapter 37, verse number 23, in the portion of Vayeshev. When Yosef came to his brothers, they took off his shirt, passing the fine woolen robe, Asherolov, that was on him. Now she says, a container, this is a shirt. As container sapasim, this is the garment that his father had given him additional to the shirt that he wore, the robe that he had. And they took him, they took him, they threw him into the pit. This pit was empty, it had no water. Now she says, the pit is empty, there's no water. That when it says the pit is empty, do you know already there's no water? What then do the words in the pit had no water in it comes to teach us that it didn't contain water? Two minuses as one plus, and that is that they had serpents and scorpions in this pit. And they sat down to eat bread. They see her name, and they uplifted their eyes, and they saw They saw that a caravan of Ishmaelites were coming their way. And they were carrying spices, vitsari and stakti, veloit and loitus. They were merchants, they were taking their spices and they were taking it down to Egypt. Now she says, Aruchais means a shayotis, Unglish translates shayotis, a caravan. Why does the Torah tell us what they were carrying? What is important? To show the reward to the righteous. For the Ishmael and the Arabs typically carry only kerosene and tar, because they have that abundance in where they are, and which is bad smell. But Yosef was divinely arranged that they shouldn't put this caravan of Ishmaelim shouldn't carry what they usually carry. And they were carrying fragrant spices so that he would not suffer from the bad odor. Noichais, any collection of many kinds of spices is called noichais. As we see in Malachim, that it's called noichais. Onkelos translated to mean it, noichais means wax. Sorry, a sap that drips from balsam tree, it's the same as notaf, which enumerated among the ingredients of incense. Veloit, it's called latisa in Mishnah in Hebrew, and our rabbis explain it, Tractate Nida, as being a herbal root called birthwort. Ayem Yehuda Alechav, and Yehuda turned to his brother and said, Ma betza, what are we going to gain? Kinareg is achina, that we're going to kill him. The chasina is done, and we'll conceal his death. What are we going to gain from it? Now she says, Mom, anybody going to make money off of this whole thing? The chasina is done, and we'll hide his death. The best thing would be is we go and we sell him to this caravan. We ordain al tina boy, and then we won't have anything to do with his whole situation. We'll sell him as a slave. Ultimately, he's our brother. He's our flesh. By Yishmu, Echav, and his brothers listen to him. Now she says, Kiblum, and they accepted from him. So every expression of Shmiel, like Shema Yisrael, is acceptance of a statement. And Rashi brings all the times that we see the word Shema in the Torah, Shema Yishmu, is an expression of acceptance. And a caravan of Midianites merchant also passed by. And they grabbed him, and they pulled him out of the ditch. And they sold it to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they brought Yosef down to Egypt. Now she says, We started off with Yishmaelim. This pasuk starts with Yinonim. This is another caravan. The Torah tells us that he was sold a couple of times. Yamshichu. So Rashi says how it went. Yosef was pulled up from the pit. He was sold to the Ishmaelites. The Ishmaelim sold him to the Midianites. And the Midianites sold him to Mitzrayim. So he was sold 3 times. Sold to the Ishmaelim, to the Midianites, to Mitzrayim. Yosef Reuven el bird. And then Reuven came back to the pit. And he saw that Yosef was not in the pit. And he tore his clothes, rent his clothes. Actually, he was not present at the sale of Yosef. For that day, he was tending his father, went home to attend his father. Another explanation was busy with his sackcloth and fasting. Reuven was fasting. So when his brother sat down to eat, he separated himself from them because it was fasting for what he did to his father. So he came back to his brothers, and he said, Ayela de Nana. Young lad is not there. And where can I go? Rashi says, what does it mean? Where shall I flee from the grief, from our father's grief? So they took Yosef's robe. They slaughtered a young goat. And they dipped the robe into the blood. Now she says, the young goat, the blood resembles that of a human. Containers, this is how the noun appears, absolute, but when it's connected to another word, it's constructive form. Containers, Yosef's robe, a robe of wool. They sent off the fine wool with a messenger. It was brought to their father. They said, this is what we found. We found this containers. And this is it your son's robe? Verse 33, and he recognizes, it is the son of my robe. It is the robe of my son. A wild animal has eaten him. Taraf, Yosef. Yosef has been torn to pieces. Now she says, this is it. He had a spark of divine spirit. A prophecy. He said a prophecy over here. For eventually Potiphar's wife, who may become peer to a wild beast, would attack him. And why did the Holy One, blessed be He, not reveal to him that Yosef was alive? Why did Yaakov Avinu have to go for the next 20 years wondering where's Yosef? They didn't have a burial place for Yosef. It's tragic. And the reason is, Medrash says, because the brothers have placed under a ban and a curse anybody who revealed this before they all agreed it was the time to do so. So they realized somebody's going to come back. They're going to see Yaakov being in such pain. Somebody's going to slip and will say to the father, "Relax, we sold him." So they made a bez. They all got together and they made a pact that they would never say to their father anything. And they made a pact, a chedim, and they brought God into it. He was party with them to this agreement. That he would indicate to them when the appropriate time came. So they brought the Eibishter in, they brought God, so to say, part of the pact, and they said to the Eibishter, "You're going to tell us when's the right time to tell." And therefore, the Eibishter didn't say anything, so to say, to this agreement that he would indicate to them when the appropriate time came. Isaac was still alive. Isaac, however, did know that Yosef was alive. So Isaac was a prophet. He knew Yosef was alive, but he said, how can I reveal to Jacob the truth when God, the Holy One, blessed be He, does not wish to reveal it to him? So Isaac kept this a secret. By the time Yaakov found out Isaac passed away. So he went to his grave with the secret that Yosef was still alive. Verse 34, Yaakov tore his garments. He also he put a sackcloth around his waist. And he mourned for his son Yomim Rabim many days. Rashi says, how long did he mourn for his son? 22 years. From the time Yosef left him until Yaakov went to Egypt was 22 years. For it says Yosef was 17 years old when he left Yaakov, and he was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, making it 13 years. And then there was 7 years of plenty. So now you have 20. And then it was 2 years of famine. It's 22 years. Corresponding to the 22 years that Yaakov didn't fulfill the duty of honoring his father, his parents. He didn't come back till 22 years after. 20 years he was in Lavan's house. 2 years he spent on his way returning from Lavan's house. 1.5 years in Sukkot, 6 years in Bethel. That is why he meant when it says Lavan, what it meant, he said to Lavan, it's now 20 years that I have been in your household. Those 20 years for me, they are my responsibility. They are they belong to me. I'm going to be punished for these 20 years. I'm going to be punished. He didn't know what the punishment would be, but he said, I'm going to be punished for not going home to my parents for 20 years. And ultimately, this whole thing was 22 years. That was his punishment. And his sons and his daughters all got up to console him. But he refused to be comforted. And he said, I will go down to the grave mourning my son. And his father wept for him. You see, he puts the Isaac because that's the Rashi. So Rashi says he had daughters. He had one daughter. We're going back. We mentioned that Rashi already mentioned this medrash. Rabbi Yehuda said that there were twin sisters that were born in each tribe, and each married a half a sister. That's how they got married. They married their half sisters. Nehemiah said their wives were in fact Canaanite women. What then is meant all the daughters? It refers to daughter-in-laws. If a person does not hesitate call his son-in-law son, and doesn't hesitate call his daughter-in-law his daughter. By Imon Lesnachem, he refused to comfort. A person cannot be consoled for a living person whom he believes to be dead. Regardless, this is the concept we have today, closure. You cannot be menachem until you have closure. Regarding the dead person, it is divine decree that he eventually be forgotten from their heart, but not regarding a living person. Elo b'ni, I will go down, my son. El b'ni, the same mean al b'ni, on my son. Now she says, we see that the Torah says many times el, because el b'ni, to my son. But it means over here, on my son. Elvo she'ela, according to the straight words sense, sha'ol means the grave. Sha'ula is the grave. Meaning I shall be buried in my mourning. I will not be comforted during my entire lifetime. But the Medrash explains sha'ol means hell, purgatory. Meaning this sign was given to me by the Almighty. If none of my sons died during my lifetime, I'm assured I will never see Gehenna. So he said, now it's seemingly I'm going to see Gehenna. Yavich Isaac and his father wept for him. Now she says this refers to Isaac, who wept because of Yaakov's suffering. But he did not mourn. He didn't mourn with Yaakov, but he wept for Yaakov because he didn't mourn because he knew Yosef was alive. Verse 36, the Midianites sold him to the Egyptians. The Petifa sis Pare to Petifa, the courtier of Pare. Sara Tabachim, he was the chief of the butchers. Tabachim means Rashi says slaughter the king's animals. He was He was the one who so wealthy from he was the guy who supplier of the king's meat. And that completes the Chumash for today. Okay, my friends, we start beginning of Tanya. We start introduction of Tanya. The first page, the cover page. Sefer cover page was also written by the Alter Rebbe. Sefer Likutei Amorim, this is a book of a compilation of teachings, of sayings. Chelik Rishon, this starts the first part, Hanikar B'Shem, which is called Sefer Shel Beinanim. It's called the Book of the Intermediate. Belukei, this is a compiled Mipri Seferim, from sacred books, Mipri Sefer Kirche Elyon Shmas Eden, from teachers of heavenly saintliness, whose souls, Neshmas and Gan Eden, whose souls are in Gan Eden. Yusur al Pasuk, I established this whole book on the Pasuk of the Torah, how this thing is very, Moshe Rabbeinu tells to the Jewish people, the Torah is very close to them. The fichach in their mouth, bilvavcha in their heart, la say to do. Levayit Hativ, I come to explain clearly, how is this whole thing very close, in a long but short way. Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach, with the aid of God, the Holy One, blessed be He. This verse in Tanya, which Tanya is based upon, speaks of obligation to fulfill the commandments of God, saying that it's very near to everybody, accessible to every Jew to do, through the three channels, which here the Pasuk alludes to the phrase, your heart, your mouth, and to do. These phrases represents, respectively, the three faculties of thought, speech, and action. These are, as it were, the functional organs of the soul. We'll go and learn this in Tanya. The soul vests itself in them in thought, speech, and action in order to implement its wishes. The deeper sense, your heart, refers to the emotion, experience of the heart, of love of God, and in the awe of God. When one fulfills the mitzvah of love of God, knowing that only that the only way to unite with Him is by fulfilling His commands, he will do so with an inner vitality and pleasure, just as one does when he fulfills the wishes of a good dear friend. The love of God is thus a channel for the performance of positive mitzvahs. On the other hand, one's awe of God will prevent him from acting in violation of his wishes. He will pervade by this sense of awe, will be most vigilant, avoiding any transgressions of prohibited mitzvahs. The verse thus declares that acquiring these two emotional love and awe of God, so that they motivate one's observance of mitzvahs, is likewise very near to you, your love and fear of God. This declaration is the base of Tanya. Alter Rebbe now sets out to explain in both a lengthy and a brief way how it is near. By nature, a man's heart's desire material things. To develop love and desire of godly is actually to shift one's natural desire from one extreme, worldliness, to another extreme, godliness. Nor is awe of God easily attained. As the Gemara attests, is God such a small thing? How does the verse state that this is indeed very near to you? Rebbe will explain two ways of which to attain this love and fear is very near, one in a lengthy and one in the other brief. The lengthy route is contemplation. By pondering deeply on the greatness of God and His kindness, one will generate within himself a love and awe of God. The shorter route consists of arousing and bringing to the surface your hidden love that each Jew, an awe of God inherited in every soul of every Jew. This is all explained in Tanya. It's a short because in this case, he does not create his feeling, but merely reveals them. He If you have to create it, then you have to use your brain. And using your brain is a long process. This then is the basis of the Tanya. In his modesty, the Alter Rebbe named the book Likutei Amorim, a compilation of teachings. Like it's not his teaching, somebody else's, claiming that he did no more than collecting from books and teachers. Siddiq tradition understood books refers to the works of Maharal Prague, the Shalah. Teachers were the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid of Mezrich. So the Alter Rebbe said, I based my teaching on Maharal Prague, famous Maharal Prague, who was also, Alter Rebbe was a descendant of Maharal Prague, the Shalah HaKodesh, who was a great Kabbalist in Tzfas. And the teachers, he meant the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid. Today is the Maggid's yahrzeit. The book is popular, called Tanya, from the word it begins. Basically, the Fidik Rebbe, the 6th Lubavitcher Rebbe, cites tradition concerning what we're going to read now, the prohibitions of the Tzaddik of Yehuda Leib HaKohen and Abba Zusha of Anapola. This tradition originates with the Mittel Rebbe, the son of the author of Tanya, as follows. For 20 years, the Alter Rebbe wrote the Tanya. It took the Alter Rebbe 20 years to write the Tanya. Revisiting and adding and deleting. Critically examining every word and even literally every letter. Alter Rebbe was careful in every letter that he wrote. And so that the final manuscript, there was neither a missing nor a superfluous letter. Not even simply optional letter Vav. He was very careful. Only then did he permit it to be copied, distributed to the public. As a result of many copies and copyists, however, a great many errors were found their way into the text. It's recorded elsewhere that there was those who intentionally corrupted the text. We know that that's what happened in Yutas Kislev, that there were people who went and they made their own copy and they changed the text of the Tanya to hurt the Alter Rebbe. As a result, many copies and copies, however, I'm saying those who intentionally corrupted the text in order to ascribe the Alter Rebbe had heretical views so they could later attack him. At that point, the Alter Rebbe sent messengers to the two tzaddikim that are going to be mentioned here to confer with them on the printing of the Tanya and to get from them their letter that they prohibit anybody from printing this Tanya. Both of his colleagues expressed their enthusiasm over the book. Rabbi Yehuda Leib HaKohen said, the Tanya is like instance to counter the spiritual plagues besetting the generation before the arrival of Mashiach. Abba Zusha of Anapola said, with the Tanya, the Jewish people go and greet the righteous Mashiach. Both of them were inspired by this book. It took only the first 53 chapters. Both indicate the prohibition that they would be writing in the week Parshas Kisave when you enter the land. One of the emissaries of Moshe Vilenka gave two reasons for this. Finally, first, by studying the Tanya thoroughly, you enter the land. Spiritual sense, meaning you make an essential will of your soul manifest for the Ratzin, the will, and edits the land. Secondly, the way of the serving God taught in the Tanya serves to transmute the curse enumerated in Parshas Kisava into blessings. Both tzaddikim, Moshe Vilenka, went to explain, similarly indicated their esteem for the Tanya in the way that it was dated in this letter. Rabbi Yehuda Leib HaKohen wrote the year Tov Kuf Nun Vav, which stands for Tanya Keteiras Nishmas Veruach. Tanya is the incense from the spirit, from the spirit of the soul. Keteiras, incense. In keeping with his comment quoted above, Rabbi Zusha writes the date Shnas Pidusenu, the year of our redemption, indicating as above that the Jewish people will be greet Mashiach with the Tanya. This is all the Fidik episode. Okay, Haskama Sarava Chosel Amafursim. This is the Haskama, the acceptance, the acknowledgement. Haskama means the I don't know. I can't say this fancy English word over here. his acceptance of this Tanya,
approbation.
Approbation. And the godly man, saintly known, a teacher of Shulam Zusha Manapan. In the when I've seen the writings of this great teacher, Yishalakim, a man of God, Kodesh V'Tor, who is saintly and pure, Spaklaya Meira, this luminous lens, brings every subject into sharp focus. But Teiv Asher Asa, it's very good what he has done. Asher Hifli, Hashem Chazdei, which the Eibishter, moreover God in his wondrous kindness has placed in his pure heart. The Liba Ater Lassis, the Kaleli, in his pure heart to do all this, to write it down. Hashem to show the people of God these holy ways. The Alter Rebbe intention not to publish these writings. Because the Alter Rebbe, this is not his custom. The Alter Rebbe, most Rabbi didn't write things. People wrote like the Shem Tov didn't write things down. People used to write for them. The Alter Rebbe didn't want to write. I was just seeing his introduction. Didn't want to write this. And because of the result of many of various transcriptions, the copyists erred, have multiply exceedingly. So therefore, the Alter Rebbe had no choice, because people started to bring out these papers in his name. So he decided I had no choice. He had to bring it himself to print it. God had aroused the spirit of two partners that would do it. Shaul Shachner, the son of Noach, and also the outstanding and distinguished scholar, Mordechai ben Amina ben Shmuel Alevi. Both of these great people brought it. Lahavia Kentresa Mahem. They took care of to bring it to print. Bislaviatia, they brought it in Slavatia. And I congratulate them on this good deed. They were, however, apprehensive on the growing number of printing establishments, which are wont to cause damage, to ruin the credited ones. Other people will bring it to other places. In this view, because of that, we have resolved to give this Haskama, that no man shall lift the hand or the foot to cause any damage, God forbid, to the above mentioned printers that went out to print this. They have no right to do it any other place. Alter Rebbe trusted these two great people, and they are the ones who have the only right to do that, to print it. Nobody has the right to print this book. Built the ideas without their permission. At least for the next 5 years, for the date written on this letter. And whoever heeds my words, should be blessed. These are the words of the one who demands this for the glory of Torah. Today is Gimel, the Tuesday, third day, which on the Tuesday, on the third day of creation, it says good, Pashas Kisavei, the portion of Kisavei, Deuteronomy, Shnas Pedusenu, in the year of our redemption, the Pratakotan, in the sixth millennium, year 556. Hakotan, Meshulam, Zusha, and Pola, the insignificant, the small one, Meshulam, Zusha, Manapola, and then up. And then you have the next Haskama from the great Rabbi Yishalakim. Kodesh Shemalei, they said upon him, Holy Marenu, our teacher, Rabbeinu. Our master and teacher, Rabbi Yehuda Leib HaKohen. Chochmas Adam Torah, the wisdom of man illuminates the face of the earth. When I see Yedei Koche, the writings, the handwritings of Machaber, of this author, Arav HaGoyin, who's a genius, Ishalakim, a man of God, a godly man, Kodesh V'Tor, he's saintly and pure. Chassid, he's a pious, Va'anav, and he's humble. Hashem Mikvar Nigla Mistera, whose hidden powers have been revealed long ago, besides his effort to concentrate to hide his greatness. Yoshe B'Sheves Tachokgeni, he sat at the seat of wisdom. Alter Rebbe sat at the seat. He sat at the seat of wisdom. He sat at the table with our teacher and Goyin and Magid and Mezritch, whose worldly authority is revealed aspects of as well as the supreme authority in the realm of Chassidus Torah. The Magid was a genius in Kabbalah and Nigla. And he drew the water from this well of living waters. Some understand this to allude to Rav Avram, the angel, the Magid's son. For the letters Be'er is meaning from the well, also spelled Avram. We know that the Magid wanted that the Alter Rebbe should become a Chava with his son, and they learned together. He was called Avram Malach, with like an angel. Totally a person that was totally separate from the world, like a god, truly a godly individual. Okay, now Israel will adjust in the revelation of his holy words from the Tanya, the teachings of Baal Shem Tov, find a lucid intellectual expression. Who now compiled in preparation for the press, he wants to bring it to be printed, to teach the nation of God the ways of holiness. As anyone who can perceive the inner meanings of this author's words, that which is common knowledge needs no proof, and thus the Tanya will actually need no askama. I don't need to give the askama to the Tanya. So why am I writing this letter? Alter Rebbe doesn't need my askama. Alter Rebbe doesn't need my acknowledgement that I accept him. But I'm doing this. I'm writing this letter because, again, so that no harm comes to print those who come to print it. I come again with a firm warning that no man should raise his hand and his foot to print this book, besides those that we give him permission at in Lamata, at least for a period of 5 years. And those who heed my words, may the blessing of God come upon them. I write these words in honor of the Torah. Again, this is Tuesday. It's a portion of Kisave, the Prat Tafkov Nun Vav, in the year 5556. Yehuda Leib HaKohen. This was written by Yehuda Leib HaKohen. Askamas, now we have the Askama of Rabbanim Sheicha B'nei HaGoyin, the sons of the Alter Rebbe, of blessed memory, whose souls in Gan Eden. Where it's been agreed by us to grant permission and authorization to bring the printing to the printing press. Should be a remembrance to the Jewish people. The written works of the upright and truth. The words of our living God. By our Lord, Avinu, our Father, Meirenu, our Master, Rabbeinu, our Teacher, the Chayil of Rachel. Alter Rebbe had already passed when this letter was written. Which the Alter Rebbe wrote to Tanya. If you go to New York, you can see the Alter Rebbe wrote the Tanya. They have the actual Tanya that was written by the Alter Rebbe in the library, in the Rebbe's library. L'Shena HaKodesh, in the saintly expression. Shekol Dvaru Gegach Liyesh, that all the Alter Rebbe's words, every word is like a fire. Very coals, Be'eres, which ignites. Yaliva Lavavis, these words, the Alter Rebbe's words are going to awaken the heart, ignite the heart. The Karvan Lavim Shabashamayim, to bring them closer to the God in heaven. V'shem Migeres HaKedesh Nikru. Because the sons put together, they added to the Tanya the other parts of the Tanya. This goes collected Igeres HaKedesh. The writings of the Shaluch Meis Kutcher were being mostly the letters sent by the Alter Rebbe, La'adas La'Hashem, La'am Hashem, to show to the nation, to the people of God, Haderech HaShe'ilchuba, the way that they should go, Amaisa Sheyasin, and the things that they should do. The way probably refers to Chassidic paths of self-perfection. Those letters offer guidance. Geras HaKodesh, the letters of the Alter Rebbe, attaining love and awe of God and the proper service of God through prayer, Torah study, while deeds refers to the letters of the Alter Rebbe, which the Alter Rebbe wrote about giving tzedakah, about giving charity. So much as our father has made reference in many places to his Sefer Likutei Amarim, which is the beginning of Tanya. The words of Torah are scanned in one place, amplified in another place, so that some subjects in the Geras HaKodesh are more fully elucidated in Likutei Amarim and vice versa. And that's how we put it together. So that through learning Likutei Amarim, then Geras HaTshuva, and Geras HaKodesh, we'll be able to get a better understanding of the whole Tanya. And therefore we actually added also Kuntisachim, which we just finished. Aleza Prakim on some of which the Alter Rebbe wrote on some of his chapters of Tanya. Which he wrote separately when he was compiling Tanya. He wrote this Kuntisachim, he wrote these notes on the Tanya, which we put it into the Tanya ultimately. So his sons, after the passing of the Alter Rebbe, put together the whole Tanya. And they put together all the 4 parts of the Tanya. Pilpul v'in amak amayim v'zoy v'etzchaim. In the Kuntisachim, we all know, consists of profound discussions in the insights of the Zoya and Etzchaim and Pri Etzchaim, which appear to contradict each other. And through his understanding spirit, the author resolves each passage according to the context explained in Likutei Amarim, and thus this part of the Geras HaKodesh and certainly directly connected to Likutei Amarim. Therefore, we have deemed proper, his sons say, that we should put all these things together. Likutei Amarim, Geras HaTshuva, and we put them all together in one book. Thus, therefore, we hereby place a great fence, prohibition, with nidu cherem shamta, and the excommunication of the rabbis, the Rabban less avasu, there's no remedy. Nobody has the right to print this Tanya. The Hatta can even to use in any present state. One without the other. 5 years from the date below. This, however, must be made known. To our misfortune, manuscripts written by his personal saintly hand, was composed with great precision. The Alter Rebbe's writings, without any superfluous or deficient letters, have become extinct. A lot of the Alter Rebbe's writings So sometimes you see in the writings, you get us a Kodesh listening the like it sounds like a half a letter. A lot of it was disappeared. Remained a very from the abundance of material, a small number of writings, which had been collected one by one. The copies spread amongst the disciples. We found original copies. So therefore, if any error would be discovered, or who can avoid errors, Shogis Miavin, the Abyss error will be identified as deriving from the scripture, from the scribal slip. So if any mistake was found, you shouldn't blame it on the Alter Rebbe. You should blame it on ultimately, because everything needed to be, somebody needed to sit there, and especially in those days when they used to print, they used to take little things of metal and they used to put it together, and it's impossible that they wouldn't make a mistake and put the wrong letter, put the wrong word. So our convoluted view of the meaning should be clear. That if the mistake will be found, Pastor shown the Alter Rebbe made a mistake. The Alter Rebbe was very careful in the way he wrote things. Today is the 5th day, Thursday of the 22nd day of the year, in the year 5574. We signed Doiber. This is the Alter Rebbe's. This is the This is the Mittel Rebbe, the son of our Adoni Modi, son of Master of Great Saint of Israel, our teacher, Shnei Zalman, of blessed memory, Shmos begins of whose soul is resting in the high treasures of the Lord. Num Chaim Avram, I declared by Chaim Avram, also the son of the Alter Rebbe. Num Moshe, the son of the Alter Rebbe. Blessed. And that completes Tanya. Today's Yutas Kislev, my dear friends. And Tillim of the day is chapter The Tillim of the day is chapter 90 to chapter 96. The Rebbe writes in the Yom Yom. Today, actually, we start the Yom Yom again also. We start from the beginning, the Yom Yom. The Frierdiker Rebbe says, from a letter from my father, the Rebbe Rashab, this 5th Lubavitcher Rebbe. The 19th of Kislev, the Rebbe Rashab writes, the 19th of Kislev, the festival in which he redeemed our soul in peace. And our soul illumination and vitality was given to us. This day is the Rosh Hashanah for Chassidus, bequeathed to us by our sacred forebears. Identical with the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. This day is the beginning of your works, the fulfillment of the true intention behind the creation of man on earth, for which it is to call forth the revelation of the light of the inner parts of our holy Torah. On this day, that light is called forth in a general way for the entire year. It's our duty on this day to awaken our hearts in the innermost elements, desire and will, in that the very core of our hearts, that God illuminate our souls with the light of his inner Torah. The verse says, to the depth I call to you, O Lord, to elicit the depth and the inner words of God's Torah and God's mitzvahs, the inner words and the essence of the infinite, may it be blessed to illuminate the innards of our soul. That all our being, meaning the total existence, the essence and the extensions, be devoted to him alone, to God. To banish from within us any natural traits that are evil and unworthy. Instead, all our works and our affairs, our avodah, meaning our davening and Torah and mitzvahs, and our worldly undertaking necessary for maintaining the body be with sincere intention for the sake of heaven, for God's wishes. May God, the merciful Father, have compassion upon us and lead us along the good and righteous path. And may we see his face in uprightness. This is what the Rebbe wrote, his father wrote on Wednesday, the 16th of Kislev, in the year 5662. Today is the yahrzeit of the Maggid, who passed away on Tuesday, Pashas Vayeshev, in the year 5533. In the year 7072, he was interned in Anapola. The Alter Rebbe, there was just mentioned of Zusha Anapola. The Alter Rebbe was released from prison, first imprisonment, on the 19th of Kislev, on Tuesday, Pash Vayeshev, 1798, today, towards evening. Alter Rebbe wrote a letter. He said, "This is indeed made to be made known, that a day that God made for us, the 19th of Kislev, Tuesday, a day in which it was good, as it says twice in the Torah, good. The yahrzeit, the day also the yahrzeit of our holy teacher, whose soul is in Eden. While I am reading in the book, when I was reading in the book of Tehillim, he redeemed my soul, Pada b'shalom nafshi, in peace. Before beginning the following verse, I emerged in peace." So when I was reading the pasuk, Pada b'shalom nafshi, they came to the before I even said the next verse, I was told that I'm freed. In peace, act of God in peace. Day of Farbrengen and good resolutions to establish time to study, to reveal Torah Chassidics publicly, and the bolstering the ways of Chassidim and true friendship. It's a customary to apportion the volumes of the Talmud. We mentioned that yesterday, according to the procedure set in the Geras HaKodesh. In Lubavitch, since the year 1902 and 1903, the allocation was made on the 24th of Tevis. The yahrzeit, there not being the time, there was no time to do that on Yutas Kislev. My dear friends, a good yontiv and the learning of Chassidus, the ways of Chassidus, we should continue to be inspired by the Alter Rebbe, the teachings of Tanya. I wish you all a wonderful day, a happy day, a healthy day. Pamayim Ki Tov. Today's day that's double good, good for God, good for man. And we're going to continue in Be'ezat Hashem to learn together, sit us together.